This is me, and this is my mate Will. And today we're going to show you the behind the scene of kiwi bird conservation. We're going to take this little fella to his new home. We're starting our day at Wairaki, which is a kiwi bird sanctuary, meaning that all around its perimeter there is a pest-proof fence keeping all the predators out, allowing the kiwi bird's chicks to grow as big as possible before being released in the wild.
We're just looking for a kiwi bird. It has a radio transmitter on it, and here I have my receiver and aerial, and yeah, we're just trying to track in.
Okay, so do we think it's close or not yet?
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. I'd say it's about 50 meters away.
Nice.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the kiwi bird is really not that far away, it is still going to be a challenge to find it in this really thick bush. This radio transmitter is a very simple tool. The louder the beep, the closer the kiwi bird. However, with that much foliage all around, it is still a challenge. This very dense bush is a perfect habitat for kiwi chicks. There, they will be able to blend with all the foliage and hardly be seen. Which in turn is a little bit of a challenge for us as, well, we're trying to spot and catch them. Everybody's getting pretty excited as we're getting really close to where the kiwi bird is nesting. It is still going to take us quite a while. Again, we were about 50 meters from the kiwi bird and it has been 2 hours already. Now that Will has located its burrow, he's gonna have to extract the bird from its nest without harming it. It is gonna be quite a tricky maneuver. The first thing that he's doing is making sure that there is no extra branches around so the bird does not get hurt if he starts struggling. Then he's gonna get himself in position, making sure that he's gonna be able to get a good handle on the bird. He's calling us at the ready, and here we go. The extraction was super smooth, and after a quick health check of the bird, its tag is removed because where he's going, he's not going to be tracked anymore. There is multiple ways to hold a kiwi bird, but one of the main things to keep in mind is to keep its feet really well handled because they are very, very sharp. The bird is going to stay in its box for the transportation. We are going to take it in the center of the Northern in the Tongariro National Park. It's not a bad day at the office when the views are looking like that. We now have 2 kiwi birds that we are house hunting for.
Just finding a burrow to release the kiwi. We just come from the Wairaki crash. Reached 1,000 grams, so now they're stoke proof and can be released back into the wild. Yeah, so we're just walking through the bush, find a nice dry burrow to put the birds in.
It doesn't take long for Will to find the perfect burrow for Brent. Yes, Brent is the name of that kiwi bird, by the way. Alright, Will, what are you doing right here?
So we're just about to release Brent back into the burrow.
It's quite a simple process. After a quick brief, the kiwi bird is going to be released in its burrow and we're going to move away in order to leave it space to discover its new home. All done, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to reward all the hard work. Hey everybody, welcome to the NZ Travel Show. As per usual, we're going to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand because we kind of are the expert about traveling in New Zealand. Oh, wait, this is not Laura. This is Will. He's a Kiwi bird expert. So today we're going to be covering the Kiwi birds. We're going to talk about this New Zealand icon. If you have any questions about this fascinating animals, go ahead. We have a lot of questions that you guys send us in advance. You know, obviously Will is a bushman as well. He's a tramper, a climber. So if you guys want to talk about the New Zealand outdoors, we're also super keen to talk about that. So yeah, the way this live session works, as usual, you go in the live chat, you ask us your question, I read all the comments, and we go over everything. All right, so let's get started with Extreme Talota. What is he saying, Will?
Morena atamaria.
What does that mean in English?
Good morning.
Good morning. So yeah, so this was Maori, which is the local indigenous language here in New Zealand. We also have Laura sneakily over there in the office saying good morning to us. Anthony Comstock, one of our lovely Patreon, all the way from Rodeo, California, saying Morena. And he's talking about the poll. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Nathan, all the way from Topo, says Kia ora. And Rafa Cat says, good morning, guys, from Leeds, UK. Have you been to the UK before?
Yeah, once.
Have you been to Leeds?
No.
No. I don't know if we're missing out. I don't know anything about Leeds. All right, guys, let's get started with the question of the day. See me. All right, so today I decided to ask you guys something to do with the kiwi. Which kiwi do you prefer? So you prefer the kiwi bird, the New Zealander, also known as kiwi, or the kiwi fruit? So yeah, make sure you vote, and around the end of the hour we'll go with we'll see what your result is. Okay, what else do we have? We have Adil that says, Kia ora, Robin and Will. My question for Will is, what is the diet of a kiwi bird? What does the kiwi bird eat?
They're mostly insectivores, so they'll eat insects, invertebrates, and they'll also like berries and seeds.
Oh yeah?
From the trees, yeah.
So they do like to have a variety of a diet?
Yeah, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they go for worms, or is it like too big of a meal for them?
No, no.
They don't eat worms?
Worms are on the menu. Yeah.
Oh, worms are on the menu, yeah. Okay. Hungry Kiwis. Okay, we also have Fabio that says, hey guys, I'll be there in a few minutes. I have to moderate a game show. What? Okay, that makes sense. All right, so I asked you guys on Facebook and on YouTube as well to give us some questions about kiwi birds. So we have some prepared while you guys are getting warmed up with some questions. Actually, we have Helen Wilkinson from England says, good evening, Will. We have Baby Burns that says, how can Laura change her appearance? Almost did not notice her at all. Well, you are very pretty, Laura, I have to say, Will. Very, very pretty. And saying sub, guys. Okay, so Johannes Rai 609 says, can I have your job, Will?
Sure.
Sure. So what does one have to do to actually become a Kiwi Ranger? Like what is it involved? Is there a lot of training? Do you have to go to university for that or school, or what's the?
There's definitely a couple of different paths you can take. A lot of people do have a degree in biology, zoology, or ecology, something along those lines. I don't have a degree, but I got into Kiwi work through volunteering. So I volunteered for about a year and a half and got trained up, and then worked on a couple of projects, and through working on projects you basically learn everything anyway. Most people are doing studies on Kiwi. And
so a lot of people that come to travel to New Zealand for more extended period of time, such as during a working holiday visa, for example, which allows you to come in New Zealand and work and travel for about 12 months. A lot of people actually choose to do some volunteering for the Department of Conservation, and you really get super valuable experience. This is literally how Will started his career. So yeah, maybe something considering when you come to New Zealand to travel around. Nathan asked, when did you start becoming a Kiwi Ranger? So how long have you been a Kiwi Ranger for?
It's about 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, and did you start straight up like doing the same thing that we were doing on the video, like on your own, or do you have to do like a few years with somebody else, or how does it work?
There's like an accreditation system, so you have to be officially signed off, do a certain amount of Kiwi, like you know, practicing everything we do, catching them, measuring them, you know, making sure you can do it safely. So
you literally have somebody like grading you as you run behind a Kiwi bird?
or something like that. Yeah.
Wow,
You have to be with a trainer for a while,
Okay.
before you can go off on your own. But yeah, just started off doing that. I was quite lucky. A lot of people, you know, when they start off in conservation, they do trapping and then they move up to you know, doing species stuff. But I was lucky enough that there's a job going. And,
Nice. All right, so we do have a well. Find me always. I think we already answered your question. You know, how does one become a Kiwi Ranger? Will already gave you the whole spiel right here, so that was pretty cool. But we also have Warren that sent you 7 questions. So we're just gonna slowly sprinkle them around here while you guys are coming up with some question. But the first question that he has is it legal to own a Kiwi as a pet? And how many Kiwis are owned as pets in New Zealand? Can you have a Kiwi pet? Can you have one roaming around your house?
well, it depends how you define pet. I mean, you know, we've got a creche where I basically get to catch the bird every month, and but not in the backyard, no.
So why do you have creche? Like, why do you actually keep some Kiwi birds in enclosures as compared to releasing them in the wild? What's the purpose of that?
We want to grow the birds to at least 1,000 grams so they can fight off a stoat. Stoats are the biggest threat to Kiwi chicks in the wild. So when they hatch in the wild, the stoat will just keep coming back to the nest until the egg hatches, and then we'll kill the chick.
Okay.
Yeah, we lift the eggs before they hatch. They get hatched in an incubation facility, and then they'll go out into a creche where we monitor them to 1,000 grams, and then they go back into the wild after that. It's quite intensive and costs a lot of money, so we are developing different strategies at the moment, which we've got one which is called the Kohanga strategy, which is basically like a massive Kiwi farm. We put a big predator-proof fence around the mountain,
Okay.
put lots of birds on there, and they start breeding by themselves, so we don't have to monitor them, we don't have to lift the eggs, you know, and then once a year, once the population gets to a certain point, then we can start lifting birds from the mountain and putting them back into the wild and repopulating certain areas.
So can you do that easily, or are Kiwi birds really territorial and are going to start fighting each other if they get a little too close? Because I can't picture a Kiwi bird being like, you know, like chickens in chicken farms. You know what I mean? Do they need a lot of space? Or?
Yeah, they have. I mean, their territory sizes can range.
Okay.
You know, depending on the population. You know, it's usually probably about 14 hectares, probably a good size for
Wow.
For a pair. Yeah.
So for a couple of Kiwi birds,
Couple of
okay.
Kiwi,
So
yeah,
you need a gigantic farm in order to have.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
think the Mangatotiri is. I think it's around 3,500 hectares,
Okay.
so it's quite a lot of space.
So Mangatotiri is also known as Sanctuary Mountain. We do have a video on this channel where we actually go and tour the place and show you all the different species, because there is not just Kiwi birds over there. You can see a lot of native birds, as well as the tuatara, which is basically New Zealand's dinosaur, let's say.
Yeah.
It's a dinosaur lizard. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Anthony Comstock, which is asking, where is the best place to see a Kiwi bird if we come to New Zealand, Will?
Stewart Island's definitely the best
Yeah?
place. I've done a bit of work down there, and
So that would be to see a Kiwi bird in the wild, right?
yeah. So, and before I went out and did some work, I was doing tramping and that kind of stuff. I did the Rakiura track, and yeah, we saw a few Kiwi just walking around, a couple in the daytime, and we went out at night with the red light and just had a look around, and yeah.
Nice. So Anthony, if you also watch our video of hiking in Stewart Island, you'll see us actually spotting a Kiwi bird in the wild as well. I did get to spot one, which is kind of that was kind of really a cool experience. Now, where is a good place to see Kiwi birds? Maybe in captivity, in enclosure, so you actually guarantee that you'll be able to see them in captivity. That's the word I was looking for.
They have some at Auckland Zoo.
Okay.
Down south, I think there's in Christchurch. I can't think of the name.
Are you also thinking about the French Joseph Kiwi Conservation Park that they have over there?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. All right. All right. So Robert Lalibert, he's always really cheeky. What is he saying? New Zealand plans to put a price on sheep and cow burps to tackle one of the country's biggest source of greenhouse gases. Any chance they'll come after the Kiwis or maybe the tourists? The tourists definitely, do a lot of burping and other type of gases. Do Kiwi birds burp or fart? And is it the question you ever thought someone would ask you?
Can't say I've heard a Kiwi burp, and I'm not sure if I've heard a typical fart, that makes a good fart noise. But
you were talking about this very specific smell of their poop, and that's how you actually, one of the way you track them when we were together in the, you did a smell test. You were talking about a smell test when we were in the forest?
I found some poo on the ground.
Okay, yeah.
It looked like Kiwi poo, and I was pretty sure, but I had to make, double check. So you give it a smell, and it's quite a unique smell. So yeah, you can't get it wrong.
if you smell a Kiwi fart, usually you know it's a Kiwi fart. So yeah, here you go. Here you go, Robert. But yeah, all right. So Warren has another question for you, and he says, how has the population of Kiwi changed over the past 10 years?
I'm not sure what the exact population was 10 years ago, but the reason that we're doing a lot of this conservation work is because the population was declining and has been for a long time. So I did have something to say about that.
Yeah, and is the population at the moment increasing or declining?
Where we do work, so where we manage areas, do a lot of pest control, the population is doing well and they're increasing, but there's a lot of area in New Zealand where we just don't have the resources to all the time to manage, so populations will be decreasing in those areas. Okay. And there's
so they still do need quite a lot of help to thrive on their own. They're not able to actually thrive on their own yet.
If we stop doing everything we're doing now, Kiwi would definitely start to.
Is there any places in New Zealand where you think that actually Kiwi actually can thrive on their own and you literally need no human intervention?
Well, apart from offshore islands,
no, not really. Okay.
No.
All right. Cool. The next question that we have. So yeah, while you guys coming up with questions, go nuts. I do have a very, very, very long list of questions right here. So we can keep going. But if you do have questions of your own, make sure to pitch in. All right. So the next question for Warren is quite interesting. So imagine a zombie apocalypse, but all the zombies are Kiwis. How many zombie Kiwis do you think you could successfully defend yourself against?
I think they'd be the worst kind of zombies, they're quite camouflage, real stealthy, so you don't hear them coming in. They
have sharp claws as well, so they're weaponized zombies, yeah?
I was out doing some night listening the other night, and this Kiwi just come running over. You don't hear it until it's a few meters away from you, and then... You
don't even hear the wrestling in the bushes?
No, yes, but they're pretty close by then.
Oh, yeah.
And I turned my light on, and there's a bird just standing there, and it just looked at me and then decided it wanted to come and kick me, so it ran up, jumped up onto my back, and then ran.
So what was his behavior for? Was he just defending his territory, or what was the...
I have no idea. Yeah? It's like...
Because I can't imagine a Kiwi bird thinking he can take on you. You're pretty much a really big guy.
Well, he was an angry bird. I'm not sure why. But so I'm with, if you had a bunch of Kiwi zombies running at you, I think you'd be pretty... stuffed in the wild, but you could,
So basically, don't go out shopping. You just need to lock yourself in your apartment, and then you're safe.
Get lots of supplies. Stay indoors. Don't go outside.
Nice,
especially at night.
Good morning, David. We have David James right here that says thanks for the live, Robin, and I'm going to thank Will as well for you. Here you go. But yeah, David, we are talking all about Kiwi birds. If you have any questions about the iconic birds of New Zealand, go nuts. In the meantime, we keep on going through some questions from Warren. Warren says, we know Kiwis cannot fly, but how adept are they at swimming? Can they actually cross small body of waters?
Yeah, they can swim. We have had birds that have crossed big rivers,
So
Really?
the Wanganui River, Whakapapa River,
They
they're
are
quite
really
big
large rivers,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
strong currents as well.
Yeah. So we've gone to catch them, and one day they're on one side of the river, and then we've gone back the next day, and they're on the other side of the river. So
Oh wow!
there's no way they can go around it unless they go all the way to Whanganui.
take the roundabout,
go
turn
across
left,
the
you know?
bridge.
Okay, so have they ever been spotted in the water, or do you just know that they've crossed body of water because you've seen them on one side or the other? But has anyone ever seen a kiwi bird literally actually swimming?
I'm not sure about that question.
No? Okay.
I have never personally seen one swim,
No.
but I know that they can. Yeah.
Wow, I find it quite impressive because looking at the shape of a kiwi bird, right, you wouldn't think it basically looks like a stone.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really picture that animal being able to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right. So how strong is a kiwi's eyesight? Are they really good at seeing and spotting you in the wild?
No, they have really poor eyesight. They rely a lot more on their sense of smell for navigation, and they've got their hearing's good. They also have whiskers. It looks like a cat's whiskers, but they're actually modified feathers. So when they bump into things, they can feel it before they.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Are they like almost blind? Like I feel like you're talking about something which is blind, right? If you bump into something, then you should have seen it coming, right? Or is it really, really poor eyesight?
yeah, it's like terrible. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not great. I mean, if you look at their eyes, they're quite small and they
Yeah.
don't really reflect the light back. Like when you shine a light into a cat's eye,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
reflects back there. It's not the same.
It's just
for
a black
for
dot.
bird, It's just
Yeah.
And what else do they have? They can sense vibrations. So actually, that's one way they find their food is they've got sensory pits at the tip of their bill, and
So the bill is the beak.
yeah, they probe it into the ground, and they can sense movement from the bugs. And
So it's kind of like a little like a ground sonar that they're using, and they when they feel like there's some vibration, they just poke in there.
yeah, well, I think they just have to test it out first.
Okay.
Get lucky, but
Interesting. And so do they eat a lot? Like do they need a ton of grubs every day, or is it something that?
yeah, I think they do need a lot of food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What do we have? Nathan is asking you: have you ever seen a kiwi bird running across the road at all? I've seen a lot of pukekos. I don't think I personally have never seen a kiwi bird running across the road for sure. But have you ever, even like in the dirt road that you go up?
Yeah, and some of the the off-road tracks, I've definitely seen birds running across. We do a lot of night catching, so it is common. They do tend to, they use the track sometimes. But also kiwi getting hit on the road is a big issue in some parts of the country where
Really?
the population is quite dense. Yeah.
Interesting. So you keep on talking about night. Are kiwi birds mostly active at night?
Yeah, so they're nocturnal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're
Generally not active during the day, but special exemption for
people. The one is Stewart Island. They're just up
Sure.
up 24/7. Yeah. Okay, what do we have? We have Fabio that says he's back from his game show, and he say, which topic have I missed? Any of my question answered already? No, I was waiting for you. I've done none of your questions just yet, but you missed about the Kiwi zombie apocalypse, so that may be worth a rewind right here. But yeah. All right. Okay, the last question that we have from Warren is: what are the biggest natural threats to kiwis? In other words, why is kiwi conservation necessary?
So the chicks get killed by stoats mostly. I think it's 6 out of 10 birds, kiwi chicks, will be killed by stoat. They're also prone to misadventures, so falling down a hole and not being able to get out, or disease or something like that. So stoats for chicks, and then adults. It's ferrets and dogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is one of the really big issue as well is the lack of wilderness areas where they can live? Like, are we just, as human, just literally turning most of their habitat into farmlands? Is that another really big issue for them?
Yeah, I think New Zealand's quite good, and there's a lot of projects that are working towards replanting natives for habitat for birds and stuff like that.
So we are claiming it back for the kiwi birds.
Slowly.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, Fabio said in his game show he had 30,000 viewers to manage. It was a bit a hard thing, but he did very well with all the mods. That's pretty good. Well, we have 13 views here, so that's pretty good. It's much easier to manage. David says, Robin, all I know is that kiwis is a flightless bird native to New Zealand. Well, that's a good start. Honestly, that's more than what a lot of people know of the kiwi birds. But at least, watching this this live session right here, hopefully you're going to get to learn a lot more about the kiwi birds. But if you do have some questions about the kiwi birds, make sure to ask it to us. We're right here to answer all your questions. All right, so we're going to move on to the question that we had Fabio asking before the show. He was really interested about new experience with the kiwi birds. Okay, so he wanted to start with, can you ask him about the connection between the Maori culture and the kiwi birds and all New Zealand wildlife in general?
I don't know too much about this topic, but I know that Māori used to use a lot of the feathers for making cloaks that were worn by important people.
So if you ever seen like the cloak of a chief, when you do those kind of village visits or those Maori evenings, quite often there is a big section of the cloak just around the neck which is made of brown feathers, and usually this is the section which is traditionally made with kiwi bird feathers. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah. It is. I did a little bit of research to make sure that it was correct. Cool. So yeah, so that's one of the things. But they also have some legends to do with local, with the wildlife. Like every civilization always inspires itself of this natural environment to create legends. So there is some legends also around. But obviously, we're not the best to talk about this specific subject, so we'll let others more knowledgeable people in Maori culture and lore be able to discuss that. All right, the next question that Fabio had what are the most important things to keep in mind if you are on a kiwi bird photo hunt? What do you need to keep in mind?
Just be super quiet. Make sure you have your red light on. If you do spot a bird, don't go running up to it.
Yeah.
I would just stay where you are. Once you get to, I don't know, 10, 20 meters away, and hopefully the bird, if you're quiet, the bird's more likely to come to you and get a better shot. So
from all the conversation we were having, it sounds like pretty much every time you tell me that a kiwi bird came by themselves to you was mostly to surprise you. So you're just trying to do your job and listen to things, and then they just sneak behind you.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things you need to keep in mind, and I think that's applicable for any wildlife in New Zealand, and that's something that Laura and I done really, really often when traveling around New Zealand and filming and trying to get some shots of like different birds and everything, is to always look behind yourself. A lot of time you're gonna kind of keep on going, but then the wildlife kind of retake kind of the area. So one thing that we notice really often is when we are walking on New Zealand path, we have North Island robins, which are really small birds. They will literally come on the path after you because you kind of basically mix a little bit of gravel, and they get some bugs underneath from there. So sometimes you just hike and then you turn a bit of a corner, and then we just stop, get our camera out, and look back, and we actually can see some birds literally on the path there. So I think one of the best tips to spot any kind of wildlife in New Zealand, to go slowly, be quiet, and always look around, and especially behind you when going around. But obviously if you kind of run and shout and try to run toward the animals and everything, and they're not going to be happy. You wouldn't be happy if somebody starts running toward you with the camera. You probably start running the other way. So don't do that. All right, what is Nathan saying?
What is the lightest or heaviest bird that you've found in the wild?
Did you find ever a kiwi bird that was especially fat? You'd be like, you've got a really good feed.
Yeah, like jiggles, when you type it. Like honestly, so I found this bird on Stewart Island. It would have been over 4 kilos, which is pretty big for a bird. I mean, on average, I think kiwi, like females, are bigger than males, but on average, I think they're about 2.5 kilos.
Oh wow, so it was about twice the size.
Well, yeah, 1.5 kilos more than what it should be, and definitely a lot of fat on that bird.
What do you think this one got so fat?
I don't know. They're just different down there. But I have found a couple of big North Island browns. 3.5 kilos. So it's unusual as well. The lightest one I've caught is probably a chick, probably 250 grams. Yeah, we went in to do a chick lift on track the male into the burrow, and he had a chick sitting there. So
interesting. So you have to find something which is about yay big in the New Zealand bush that's running away from you, and it's brown and looks like a little bush.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that takes some skills, guys. David says it's an interesting subject, Robin. All I know is that kiwi bird are flightless bird and native to New Zealand. You said that already. Yeah, I think you already said that one. So yeah, I read it before, but you may have just retyped it. It's all good. Okay, so you were saying you were doing some chick lift. So that means you took some kiwi chick out of the wild and took them into captivity. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Why? What's the purpose? In the vast conservation field to do such a lift.
Well, it's just a matter of timing, I suppose. We try to lift the eggs. So kiwi have a long incubation period, so it's 78 days for an egg.
So they have to sit on
hatch.
an egg for 78 days?
Yeah, most other birds are around 20, so it's 3 weeks. But kiwi, especially long.
So kiwi bird are a slow-cooked bird.
Yeah. So 60 days, and then because they have generally they have 2 eggs in the burrow, and if you lift them when they're too young, their chance of surviving when we take them to an incubation facility is lower. So they're about 20 days apart, so we try to wait until the youngest egg is 40 days, and we don't want them too close to hatching as well, because there's a bit of risk lifting, taking a wet chick, because when they hatch they're wet and they need to stay warm, and
Okay.
so
How do they stay warm in the wild?
when they hatch, they hatch with all their feathers, and
Okay.
They're self-sufficient, but they stay with the dad for warmth.
Okay.
So they'll huddle up together.
So
for a few
is the
days,
dad taking care of the eggs, and it sounds unusual.
yeah. So the male will
Okay.
sit on the eggs with the North Island brown anyway.
Okay.
The males sit.
So the male is in charge of the egg for basically the whole 78 days?
Yeah.
Okay, and then after that, so the kiwi chick stays with the male for how
Probably
long?
about 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
And then they're on their own?
Then they're on their own. Yeah.
Wow, okay, wow. That's quick. All right, so Robert says, if kiwis are nocturnal and their eyesight's better in daylight or in darkness, or are there no difference?
That's a good question.
I don't think we have the answer to that. But since...
no, well, the eyesight's really poor regardless. They don't really use it as much as they do their smell and their...
So is that why they're nocturnal? So because like that, they can rely on all the other senses better at night, and the predator don't have the advantage of eyesight because it's dark anyway, right?
Yeah, I think it's due to predators.
Yeah.
That's why they can use it.
Okay, Fabio says, I know we really should not do that, but did anyone ever eat kiwis?
Well, I believe they did back in the day.
Oh yeah? You mean settlers or Maoris? Or both?
Probably both. Really? Yeah, well, I know Maori did.
Yeah.
But, because I've heard some stories, but really. But we don't do
Does
that
it taste
anymore.
like chicken? Everything ends up tasting like chicken. Does it taste like chicken?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you can find a cheeky Kiwi, i.e. New Zealanders, that's going to serve you chicken and tell you it's kiwi birds. That definitely can happen. Yeah. Well, we used to have a kind of another flightless bird in New Zealand, right? We used to have the moa that was hunted to extinction because of its meat.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's more. It was really big. Like it was an ostrich-like kind of bird, like a bit smaller than ostrich. So you got more meat on that one bird than I don't know how much meat you would get on the kiwi. I mean, 4 kgs. The other one sounds like a pretty big turkey. All right. So since Fabio is still around, so what else do we have? Okay, number 3 from Fabio says, why is the kiwi bird so prominent in New Zealand? There are many other birds that are only in New Zealand. So why has the kiwi bird risen so much in popularity in New Zealand? Why is this one an icon and not the pukeko, for example?
Well, that's a good question, actually.
Yeah. Why do you think? Why do you prefer the kiwi bird? Why do you choose to work with the kiwi birds, not the kakapo or the takahe or any other birds?
Well, it's our national icon for one.
Yeah.
So everyone's always excited about it. It's how we represent ourselves as New Zealanders.
Yeah, you're Kiwis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kiwis. So, but also Kiwi's an easy bird to advocate for. So a lot of these other birds, people don't know much about them, and they're hard to sort of get interest. So kiwi birds definitely bring in a lot of funding, so we can create projects that are going to help all all wildlife in New Zealand, not just kiwi. So
Yeah, so the kiwi bird is very much used as an iconic species, as an umbrella species, yeah, for conservation here in New Zealand. A bit like what you would see the WWF do a lot around the world with the panda. You know, it's something which is cute that everybody kind of really loves to look at. So I feel like they're so iconic and they have so many different points of difference. You know, there is almost an unlimited amount of fun fact about the kiwi birds, and I think it's a kind of great way to rally people around that conservation effort. And usually all the conservation effort which are done around the kiwi bird also benefit other species. You know, when there is sanctuaries which are made, you know, a pest-proof fence and everything like that, there's not just the kiwi birds that come and settle in the area. There are other species of birds which also will be hunted by stoats and by other predators, or possums, or damn feral cats going everywhere. So I feel like it's just kind of an easy icon to sell. It's good marketing, basically. It's just good marketing for conservation, and it really ends up helping a lot of other species. It's easier to sell one cause than it is to sell 20 different causes and talk about 20 different birds. You rally everybody around one bird, and then you spread the effort around. And I think that's what New Zealand has done very well with the kiwi birds. And obviously that's just an opinion, but yeah. All right. What is Fabio? Oh, we have Clay over there. So Clay is the local from Dunedin. He's always drunk, but that's okay. That's fine. We forgive him. Okay, so Fabio says, Dude 1, poor thing, the bird's dead. Dude 2, maybe a good dish. Dude 1, let's have a meal. Yeah, that's basically how I think we started tasting every single animal. It's like, who the hell came up with the first idea of trying to eat octopuses? I mean, honestly, it doesn't look like something you should be eating, but now it tastes pretty good. And I think it's just like, oh yeah, just found one, try to eat it. All right. David says, can I ask you something else? You absolutely can ask something else. Go nuts about it, mate. In the meantime, I'm going to read another question from Fabio. So, speaking of conservation, Fabio is asking about Stewart Island. So he says, Stewart Island is the big national park. Why is it so hard to get the whole island pest-free? It is isolated and will help the kiwi bird population. Why is it so hard to keep Stewart Island pest-free?
Stewart Island's a lot bigger than I think a lot of people think it is. You know, it's really, really big. Trapping on the island is hard. It's quite dense bush in there. You know, there's only a limited amount of tracks, and sometimes like large scale poison. You know, that's what we use. It can be hard to get people to agree with, and there's a lot of different variables. I think it's doable for sure. I mean, there's no stoats on Stewart Island for one, so no, but they do have feral cats and rats. But you know, when we make a sanctuary like Maungatautari or Wairakei, it takes years to make it predator free. So you can imagine a small space like that compared to, I don't know how many hectares Stewart Island is. But,
so what the comparison is, even if you were to fence off like a football field and there's some rats in there, it's not about stopping rats from coming in. It's the rats which are already there are going to keep on reproducing and have offspring, and the population is still going to be striving there, and then you need to eradicate that population, and this is the part that takes the longest time. It
takes a long time.
And so when Will was talking about poison, he's referencing something called 1080, which is a poison which is used extensively in New Zealand, or not extensively, it's used a lot in New Zealand for conservation purposes. It is a very divisive topic in the country, so when you travel around New Zealand, sometimes you will see some sign saying 1080 with a big cross on it, or with some sign like that. Those are people which are against the use of 1080. Some people within the conservation field are for it. You know, we're not here to debate this. It's a very politicized stuff, but I just want you guys to know about this topic. When you're traveling around, this is something that you may encounter and conversation that you may have. And so, yeah, that's the poison that he's talking about when it comes to try to eradicate pests in the entirety of a massive island, which is Stewart Island. It is a very, very big area over there. And also, I think one of the issues that we're having with Stewart Island as well is the fact that we have ferries going to Stewart Island quite often, and that could import extra pests into the national park. But yeah, don't we have a goal in New Zealand to actually try to make the whole country pest-free at some point?
Predator-free 2050, I think.
Predator-free, okay. Is that?
Oh, don't ask me about that.
I mean, it's good to have ambitious plans. We'll see if that ever happens. All right. Clay saying it's a shame that Kiwis also don't help with Kiwi builds. Yeah, well, we should give them hard hats. They will look really nice with hard. What is Nathan saying? The last
How many times a month do you release Kiwi birds out into the wild? So personally, I think we can hold 16 chicks at the creche, and they will be released. It takes about 6 months for them to get to 1,000 grams. So, it's around 16 a year from the creche. But I mean, nationally, it'll be a huge number, I'd say.
And is it kind of seasonal? Like, do Kiwi chicks get born literally steadily throughout the year, or is there some months in the year which are much more productive in terms of Kiwi chicks than others?
Yeah, so the breeding season's generally from, they may start getting together in about June, and then they'll do the thing and lay some eggs, and it takes 78 days. So what's that? Almost 3, or just under 3 months to hatch. So
we're about September then.
Yeah, around September, and then they'll generally have a second clutch, so that will go until anywhere from January, February, even March. Some of them are quite late, and then they have a break for a few months.
Okay. So you will have two kind of basically peak seasons of getting a lot of chicks and then releasing them and everything, and then it's quiet down, and then so it's kind of cyclical. It's not something which is steady.
Yeah, so we're not allowed to catch any birds from June till when is it? January.
Okay.
Yeah, just because the females can be gravid, and handling a gravid female.
Yeah. Fabio is pitching in with the technical term, the Kiwi bird sexy time month. So yes. we should do a Kiwi bird sexy time calendar, so we know that's happening.
It's called a cloacal kiss.
Sorry?
Cloacal kiss, I think that's what they call it.
Oh, interesting.
So they have cloaca, and they just kiss with their cloaca.
Here you go. This is how Kiwi do it. World first right here. We're not going to demonstrate, guys. We're just going to leave it to your imagination. All right, Clay is asking, do you think it is possible to get Kiwis back to a decent population, or will we be forever chasing our tails?
No, I'm pretty sure that we'll have a rise in the population. It may just take some time. The North Island Browns are already, on the... It's doing well. So, so we're just trying to... You go.
Oh yeah, so you keep talking about the North Island brown. Is there different species of Kiwi birds?
Yeah, there's five species.
All right, let's go over them.
So there's the North Island brown.
We got this one.
There's the Tukweka, Roi. Did I say great spot, little spot?
Yeah. Okay. Here you go. So we got a bunch of different Kiwi birds here in the country, and so we'll mostly work with North Island Browns as he's based on the North Island of New Zealand.
But we've got good strategies coming in now. Like I was talking about before, the Kohanga strategy. We're using creches to grow the chicks, and predator control is just getting better and better in the forest that we're managing. So where we do work, they'll be increasing quite a lot.
Okay, so you are taking Kiwi birds from the creche, which is literally a big building, which is really warm and nice, and where they're really nice and cozy, and then you are putting them in an area which is under management. Basically, there's no pests, and they grow big enough, and then we release them in the wild. And that's the video that we're playing at the beginning of this live session.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, about that process of releasing them in the wild? Do you do that really often? Once you release them in the wild, do you ever check on them, or is it just done and dusted? I'm never going to see this bird again, or what's happening after that?
Some birds we do put a transmitter on them and monitor them.
Okay.
But we only release birds back into areas where we know that they're going to be, you can never be sure, but we hope they're going to be safe because the area is well trapped. It's got predator control in place. It's, we do stuff like, monitoring for predators in those forests. So we can say, well, the bird's going to have a better chance of survival. We don't just chuck it into any random bush.
So I can't ask you to put one in my garden.
No.
Come on, mate. What am I inviting you here? In my place, you're not even bringing a gift. Shit. All right, so you just mentioned that some of them you put a tracking device on them as adults. Why do that on some of them but not all of them? And also, why do that at all?
Well, we always need... so the males are the ones that sit on the eggs. So if we monitor the males, then we can go back in and get more eggs and do the same process again. So when we release one, if it's a male, sometimes we'll put a transmitter on it if we need the genetics or if we need more eggs.
So how do you know when you're ready to take an egg from them?
So they have like crystals in the transmitter, and it detects movement. So all of the
That's crystals, you know, they use
I don't
Kyber
know
crystal
what
to
the-
make laser saber in Star Wars. So what the hell are you talking about?
these little. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not
Okay.
scientific with that kind of stuff, but
There's
anyway,
a magic crystal in
yeah,
there.
there's a magic crystal in the transmitter, and basically, we can tell, you know, just by their activity, how many eggs they have when the egg hatches. You know, how long they've been sitting on the eggs. You know, how many. Yeah, so like we can get a lot of information.
So through
how
the
many-
tracker, so you mean the tracker you put on their leg, you can tell
Yeah.
how many eggs they have.
Yeah, you can tell.
What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. How? Yeah. Okay.
Well, you can't tell how many exactly, but I mean, you can tell if the egg, if it's, you'll be able to tell because it will tell you when the first egg hatch and the second egg hatch, because as the eggs get older, the male spends less and less time off the nest,
Okay.
and when it hatches, he'll basically just stay there, and then his activity will rise a little bit, and then when the second egg hatches, it will just go straight back down to.
Okay, so
you
you
know,
may
activities.
basically say when it stays put,
Yeah.
that means that he's taking care of the egg, and so he stays in the nest, and then you know that he has
Yeah.
an egg. Otherwise, he's going around trying to
so-
find females
so
and
when
eating and everything.
But when they first lay the eggs, his activity will be high, and then as they get older, it will be lower and lower and lower.
Okay,
So the transmitter can detect that,
interesting.
and gives us a series of beeps. So we can tell what time the male came off the nest, you know, how long he spent off the nest,
And do the male lose a lot of weight when they take care of the you know, like we hear that a
Yeah.
lot about a lot of
Yeah.
species, right? When they you know, they usually try to put on some weight and then they have the baby and then it's like a really big drain on their body and everything. Do they lose a lot of weight taking care of the birds?
yeah, they do lose
Yeah.
a lot of
Of
conditioning.
the chicks, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you're spending 3 months
Yeah.
just sitting there, like reduced activity, so he's having less time feeding, and
Wow. All right, and they're big eggs as well. We'll talk about the size of the eggs soon. Okay, David says, do you know any recruitment agencies that recruit inexperienced dairy farmers? Yeah, you can head to nzpocketguide.com and then you click on work in New Zealand and then you click on job listings, and on there you have thousands of job listings that you can check for all people which have very low level of experience, usually backpackers traveling in New Zealand. You're going to get a lot of jobs right here. Fabio is going nuts on the emojis. I can't really say I know why is there so many farmers. Oh yeah, farmers. Yeah, no, okay, that makes sense. He's helping David. Robert asks, I'm curious, we have Kiwi shoe polish in North America. By any chance, does it sell in New Zealand or is it just a marketing thing? Is it a New Zealand brand? This Kiwi shoe? You've
I
seen
don't
it,
know.
right?
I've seen it.
Yeah. Like
The
even
black-
though
it's the
clear
black- it's the
teen.
black
Like,
shoe polisher.
yeah. Is it a Kiwi brand? I actually don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In New Zealand, it's sold as Marmite. Actually, it's the same. It's the same thing inside the tin. Exactly the same thing. It's the shoe polish, and those kind of people put that on their breads. So yeah. So we sell the same thing in New Zealand under the brand Marmite. We should do a skit where actually you polish your shoes Marmite. That'd be the same thing. All right. Nathan says, what is the easiest way to know if you find a Kiwi male or female while out in the wild? How do you know if it's a male or female?
Sorry.
Okay, he's losing it.
I just read the next comment.
Okay, what is Fabio says, Nathan, as everybody knows, female kiwi bird come with an apron and male ones with a helmet for constrictions. Of course, that's the way. Okay, is there a real
Yeah, the females are generally a lot bigger than the male, so
Yep.
their bill length is longer, and they are just bigger in general. So size is the first thing. The second thing you can do is take some feathers for a DNA sample and send it away.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's no other way to tell.
Alright.
So when
aside from
yeah,
the apron, obviously?
Yeah.
Obviously. Do kiwi female cook very well? Are they good cooks?
Wait,
I'm just making it up. All right. Clay says he has some of that polish. Okay, yeah. Well, you know, I've seen you eating Marmite, so honestly, eat that for breakfast. It'd be the same thing. Honestly, this thing is, this is not food. Do you eat Marmite? Good.
I mean, it's tasty. Have you ever had Marmite and cheese? You put Marmite cheese on bread and then you put it in the oven. I think it's called a mousetrap. It's quite good.
That just sounds like the worst. Marmite is awful. So one time we were traveling around New Zealand and we kept on being eaten by sandflies, and you know, there's this common myth of like if you increase your vitamin B or whatever, you know, you're gonna be less eaten by sandflies, and so Marmite's full of vitamin B. So people were like, eat Marmite. That ruins every single one of my morning for the whole time I finish that pot of Marmite. That's terrible. All right, Manju says, can you please tell me when open visit visas? So the New Zealand borders are going to be reopening on the 31st of July 2022 at midnight. And at that point, you'll be able to start applying for visas. Immigration New Zealand has not released time frames just yet on when and how visas are going to be reopening. So keep an eye posted. We'll do a news video when there is some more information about that. But otherwise, the best way for you to find information about that is to head to immigration.govt.nz. And I don't have. Sorry, I can't write it on the screen anymore. I don't know why. I don't know where it is. But yeah, immigration.govt.nz. All right, quickly while we have a break, guys. Question of the day. Ooh, question of the day. Whoa. All right, guys. Remember, we have the question of the day. What's your favorite kiwi? Is it the kiwi bird, the New Zealander kiwi, or the kiwi fruit? Make sure to vote. We will see the results in about 15 minutes. So chop, get voting. All right. What else do we have? Anthony says, stay safe, but I'm here until the end. He always kind of tell us when we close to the end. You know, he's just here to keep us in check. He's really handy. Fabio says, let's make the transition to hiking. Yes, Fabio has a bunch of questions about hiking. Do you want to talk about hiking and mountaineering a little bit?
Well, I can sit here while you answer some of the questions, and if I have something to say.
They're all for you.
For me?
Yeah, he sent them to me already. They're already written here. All right, Will. Are there any good guidebooks? So we're going to talk a little bit about mountaineering right here, a little bit. So Fabio was asking, are there any good guidebooks or books on all the routes for mountaineering in New Zealand, i.e. in a fjord and national park, etc.? Do you usually use books when you pick some of the mountaineering tracks?
There's a lot of good guidebooks for climbing, like climbing guidebooks and hiking guidebooks, like where they you can just get them online.
Okay, cool. Do you know a name of one or two from the top of your head, or not really?
No, I'd have to look at.
No.
I'd have to look it up.
And if you're really into climbing and you're looking for some climbing spots around New Zealand, there are some climbing specific websites such as the crag.co.nz, is that correct? Where you can find some really, basically all the information you may need about every climbing route around the country. And so Will is also an avid climber. But we do have some climbing videos coming in the next few months on the channel where we'll go even more about that we film with people that actually are good at climbing. Will is just an amateur. He's just okay at it. All right. Next question about mountaineering. Lots of climbing routes in the North Island, or is it better to head to the South Island if you want to do climbing?
Around the national park in the North Island is good. There's some good climbing. Like if you're into ice climbing, there's a couple of routes. If you some off track sort of stuff. If you're looking for something a bit harder, Ruapehu's got a couple. The Pinnacle's good.
You're about to head to the South Island for a little while. Are you going there mostly for climbing, or?
Well, it's winter. Well, yeah, I won't be doing any rock climbing.
No rock climbing. Okay.
It's not in winter. It's a bit cold.
So just mountaineering and tramping.
Well, yeah, mostly just tramping. So I'll be visiting a few huts around Mount Cook and.
Will you go to the top? Camping. Will you be on top over there? All right, what do we have? We have Nathan that says, thanks, Will, for answering my question about the kiwi bird. It gave me some more information about kiwi birds. Here you go, your national icon, Nathan. Jaro, which is a French guy, and he's planning to move to New Zealand, and he says, how do you become a ranger for the duck? What's the best way to become a ranger for the duck?
You can start off by volunteering. It's always a good way to get your foot in the door, because a lot of conservation, it's who you know, not always what you know. So, but the skills, if you want to work towards something, bush skills, anything like,
so watch a lot of Bear Grylls.
If you're a builder, it's good. They always want builders because we do a lot of hut maintenance, track maintenance, stuff like that. So.
So if you have building skills, like any kind of tradey kind of skills, work really well for them?
They're always really good. It's quite random. I mean, they just you just have to wait for a job to come up and apply. But
Okay.
there's always a good variety. It's not just species work or trapping. Like,
And I think one of the really good way to get started with the dog, as Will was mentioning, is just starting as a volunteer. A lot of tracks and national park in New Zealand need community rangers, what is called community rangers, especially around summer when there's an influx of tourists. And so at that point, around that time of the year, they usually try to hire a bit of extra people. And then at that point, you start making the contact, and also you start hanging out with experienced Kiwi rangers or just any kind of rangers. And you'll hang out with them. Sometimes they'll take you on for a hike, and they're going to start passing on some skills to you. And then you become even more and more qualified to move on to a paid position, because, well, when that person literally is hiring to get some assistance, they already know that you have the skills, and then it's just an easy foot in the door for working with the Department of Conservation. So pretty much everybody that I know working for the dog kind of started as volunteers or have done extensive volunteering. If not just with the dog, with adjacent organization to the dog, there is plenty of volunteer organization and non-profit organization. Will is actually working for a non-profit organization right now. He's not working for the dog, and a lot of those organizations work directly with the dog, so you already start getting your contacts there. And for those that got really confused by me saying the word DOC so often, DOC stands for Department of Conservation, and it's the government entity in New Zealand that manages most of the national park around the country and is in charge of overseeing a lot of the conservation efforts. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool.
They also have a trainee ranger course too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is quite good to.
Is it a paid course or is it free?
No, I think you have to. I think you have to pay for it.
Okay, so you have to pay.
But you learn everything from how to drive a quad bike to using a chainsaw to.
Nice.
Yeah.
doc.govt.nz if you want to learn more about that. Robert Laliberte says, your winter is just starting. How do Kiwi handle the cold? Bird here heads south. So Robert's in Canada. So he's used to migrating bird that goes south because it gets warmer. How do Kiwi bird deal with the cold?
Well, they've adapted quite well, I think.
Okay.
They're well insulated. So it snows quite often in where the Kiwi lives. So yeah, they've been found up the mountain a few times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like in snowy area.
Yeah.
Wow.
In deep snow.
So are their feathers like they're kind of like waterproof, a little bit like penguins? Like do they kind of repel the water really well?
Somewhat, to an extent. They the outer feathers definitely protect them, and are slightly waterproof. And underneath they've got nice down feathers to keep them warm.
I have a follow-up question actually. So I've seen a lot of Kiwi birds. I held some with, through the legs and everything like that. But if you were to actually pluck off the feathers of a Kiwi bird, right? How big are they underneath? Like, is it just really, really fluffy and then a small bird in it, or is it like how thick is that layer of feathers that they have?
They're quite a solid bird anyway,
Yeah.
so I mean it wouldn't reduce their size too much. The chicks are very fluffy.
Okay.
Because they need to stay a little bit warmer. But the adults, they don't really fluff themselves up.
Yeah. Don't try that at home. Do not find a Kiwi bird and pluck it. It's not something which is advisable. Okay, so we're obviously not going to disclose how much he earns because that's a bit too much. But does it pay reasonably well? Like, is it a good job to have?
Like if you're
be a
starting
Kiwi
on
bird?
the bottom tier for DOC, I think it's probably around $45,000 to $50,000 a year. New Zealand is an average. As you go up, or if you have a different role there, it goes up. But conservation isn't really in the business for making money, so they don't pay as well as.
Clay is a tradie, so that's why he's asking. I think you're not gonna get a bump in pay rise by changing a field, mate. But
I think a lot of people do conservation work for the love of it rather than for the money. So
and also like you kind of get one of the best offices in the world. Right? People pay tens of thousands of dollars to actually come to visit the New Zealand wilderness. If you get to actually be paid to work in it, you literally have the best office in the world. In my personal opinion, obviously. We're not complaining having the kind of bushland that we have in New Zealand. It's pretty awesome. All right, so keeping with the mountaineering questions from Fabio, let's keep going. So he's asking you, what about the different skill levels? Are there beginners area an area for more advanced ones? So looking for mountaineering, mostly questions, and climbing.
Yeah,
stuff
if you were
like
going to do mountaineering, I don't know what your experience is, but it would definitely pay to do an avalanche course. So something like
Yep.
that if you're a beginner. But yeah, there are a range of different things to do. Most of the hikes in the South Island during winter will be in snow. So
Yep. So you need
even
also
if
have the
you're
right
just
equipment.
yeah, so good equipment. Make
Yep.
sure like crampons and an ice axe would be necessary for some of them. You just have to do the research on the particular walk.
Yeah, there is a really good source of information for you called Adventure Smart, and I think that's adventuresmart.co.nz, which is it run in collaboration with the DOC, or is it another government body that does that? You don't know? Yeah. So Adventure Smart, it's basically a government kind of website that goes over a lot of ways you need to prepare for different hikes and adventure stuff that you're going to be doing around New Zealand. And there's a lot of information on there to know how to basically get yourself prepared. Fabio says that he's an Austrian mountaineer, so he's quite confident on avalanche and so on. Yeah. So here you go.
Should be right.
He can ride the avalanche. Yeah. But yeah, we were talking actually quite recently in the Patreon live session. We were talking about finding some gears, because there is some gears that he doesn't want to have to carry all the way to New Zealand and renting them. So we were finding some places to get them. When you actually do mountaineering in New Zealand, sorry.
Oh, I actually bought all my gear from Europe and just gets shipped over. So
yeah.
It's a lot cheaper.
If you need Fabio to ship you something, to pack some stuff before you just work something together. But yeah, when you do mountaineering in New Zealand, do you actually have a locator beacon with you, or do you go without one of those?
Well, whenever I go in the bush, anytime I go out, I always have a PRB, personal locator beacon. So
so you have your own that you actually purchased? Yeah. Okay, cool. We were trying to find like the best way to find the best place to hire one. It was a bit of a challenge, but we did find it. Yeah. All right. So Fabio says you've been the first on Mount Everest. No, you will personally, but Sir Hilary, yes, he was Kiwi, but he say Austrian.
The first of that, yes.
Oh wow, interesting. Well, yeah,
that's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have those kind of skills. And we have Joey, which is from Australia. He says, good day. How are you doing, Joey? Thank you for popping in. You're literally arriving around the end of that live session when we're about to wrap up, but we're about to start the Patreon one. So that's going to be all good, a good place to hang out. We'll actually prepare a bit of a game for all of us. But first, before we wrap up everything, we do have the question of the day. Question of the day. Well, what is it? I don't know. People can hear me sing every time. I think it's ridiculous. I love it. All right. So today I ask you, which kiwi do you prefer? The New Zealander kiwi, the kiwi bird, or the kiwi fruit? And 43% of you guys said your favorite kiwi is the New Zealander. So Will, you are the favorite of the people. Here you go. Move along, kiwi bird. And we have Weet-Bix, the kiwi bird, right here, very upset. You guys made Weet-Bix very grumpy. So I profusely apologize next live session, please and thank you. All right, Will, is there a last fact you want to give us about the kiwi birds before we wrap it up, or am I wrapping up everything now?
Oh yeah, do we need to clarify the egg,
go for it,
the egg thing?
All right.
So it's a common myth that kiwi have the largest egg proportionate to their size, and it's not true. I don't even know if it's the second, but
it's one of the largest.
It's one of the largest.
And so what is the largest though?
Petrels. Petrels have the largest.
There you go.
I think it's the storm petrel is the largest.
Storm petrels. There you go. We have clarified this common myth. I still say all of the above on the post, says Anthony. So Anthony like all the type of kiwis. I like it, Anthony. I like that everybody's a winner with you. All right, guys. So thank you very much for joining us for this live session. Thank you so much to Will for joining us for this live session. If you guys want more of this nonsense, you can join us on Patreon. It's a great way to financially reward all our hard work and get access to a bunch of awesome perks, such as PDF travel guides of New Zealand, 1 hour extra live session that we're going to do right after this one. We play some games and we chat much more casually. We help you with your itinerary around New Zealand and much more. But in the meantime, if you don't want to join us on Patreon, that's all good. We'll be back here next week with another live session, and Laura will be back this time around. All right, everybody is What was that? Says Clay. It sounds like petrel. No, petrel. Petrel. It's a species of bird, and there's many different petrels around. All right. In the meantime, guys, you stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.